Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about or walk through how how we migrate applications from on-premises environment to Google Cloud Platform in a real-time enterprise setup. This is an actual project which one of the banking customers I've dealt with before. Where using legacy systems and it comes to strict security requirements and the main expectation is zero downtime. So when they asked us to or myself to migrate, this is probably the strategy I used for that. This just looks overall like a high level architecture, but then there was so much detail um, towards this migration which we had to do. But let me just try to explain you the high level architecture of this uh, setup. So there are these three migration strategies or three options in terms of migration. The first one is rehosting. Rehosting is called as lift and shift. So this means that we move application as is to the cloud with minimal changes. For example, we would that would be the first step, okay, towards any enterprise who doesn't want downtime at all. So this is the best strategy to move it. So we moved as is the application, the legacy application as is from virtual machine. If your virtual, if your service are hosted via VMware uh, ESXi servers or something like that. So we move the same thing to the GCVE. In Google, we have something called GCVE, which is a virtualized environment from Google. So we normally do that first, as in whatever the applications which is configured, and then we would re-platform the same, which means we optimize um, applications. The developer fixes the applications like moving from the RDS databases, like relational databases, from the local virtual environment to something on the database. So we'll talk in much in detail about it. To manage services or I mean, just for example, database. Likewise, we take all the applications from the applications, messaging services. We all move from the existing legacy environment to um, a native application on your Google Cloud. So this is re-platforming comes into picture, where the developer needs to be looking into that and working out options which we can use. The next one is the refactoring. Refactoring is the last step towards it, where we redesign the application to fully leverage the cloud native architecture. In an enterprise setup, we rarely jump directly into refactoring stage. So instead, we follow the rehosting, replatforming, and refactoring approaches. So you go step by step and move the application with zero downtime and making sure that the customer's expectations of a strict security policy is maintained as well. Now, migration is not one step process, it's a journey, and we need to make sure that we follow up on each step towards the journey. So first step what we normally do is like we understand, analyze what kind of on-prem environment we have. So first step is basically in many environments, applications are tightly coupled with VMware. So instead of directly moving it to the GCP service, first we migrate your existing virtual machines from VMs to Google's Google Cloud Virtual Engine. I'm sorry, VMware Engine. So we call it GCVE. This allows us to run VMware workloads on GCP without any major changes. So which means that all the legacy service which you have on VMware would be running from the same VMware interface, which is from Google Cloud. So that's the only difference. So rather than running from your on-premise data center, it will be running from Google Cloud data center. This allows you to run VMware workloads in GCP without major changes. Benefits are that you're going to have minimal code changes. This is going to have faster migration and reduced risk. So this space mainly is to rehosting workloads into cloud. Now, in terms of connectivity, we are going to need a server, and it needs to have a secure communication between on-prem and GCP. Now, remember that the communication of this virtual machine transfer should be secured, and we need to have a VPN or dedicated interconnection between your on-prem data center to the Google Cloud data center. There are two main options over here. You can either use a VPN, which is of a quick setup but limited bandwidth. VPNs, as you know, comes with limited bandwidth. In terms of dedicated interconnection, if your customer is huge and he has like a lot of data to be transferred, then we have to go for dedicated interconnection, which offers high bandwidth, low latency, which is used on enterprise environment. Now, when you talk about this, when you talk about a banking setup, we normally, or what I've used is the interconnection with VPN as a backup. So we have not like separated VPN, or we've not, I wouldn't say that we have not used, but we have used it as a backup. In case of any connectivity loss, we would continue the data transfer using VPN, but mostly it is all about the interconnection which is available between your data center and GCP. All right, so that's pretty much the way you set it up. Once the workloads are running on GCP, the next step is to modernize. Now, this is where you move from the VMware-based workloads to cloud-native services. Like, for example, I can say a few examples over here. Applications are containerized using Docker. Like legacy applications are pretty large application which requires larger processing application servers. So that is broken into microservices. That comes as a second phase. So that is where I was talking about is, we're talking about re-platforming, where we are using the developers to break this legacy application into multiple smaller pieces and process that smaller pieces using GKE, which is Google's Kubernetes engine, and that's going to help us to host all the containerized application, and then we can deploy this onto the GKE cluster, and then stateless services can use the Cloud Run, which is like your Lambda function kind of thing, where you have the serverless computing done on Cloud Run. You can also integrate GKE and Cloud Run as well if there is any kind of requirement. Databases, on the other hand, are moved to managed services like Cloud SQL or BigQueries, so that the performance and scalability, and it also improves cost efficiency as well, while you break these applications and move it into a smaller packages. Now, in terms of data migration is one of the critical parts, where we use tools like database migration service, storage transfer service. These are some of the Google services. We use these services. We also plan for data consistency, minimum downtime, rollback strategies. In many cases, we use replications to keep sources and the target in sync during the migration, because there's a lot of disturbances when you have this live data getting updated every now and then. So we make sure that the source and the targets is always in sync while we do this migration. Now, one of the items which we have here is the risk and mitigation. This is very important for us. Mitigation always comes with risk. So some challenges are downtime risk, data loss, performance issues, security gaps. To mitigate this, we use phased migration, perform extensive testing, implement rollback strategies, monitoring system closely during migration. In banking environments, we cannot afford failures, so planning and validation are very critical for us. Now, um, we are pretty much looking at the other aspects over here, security and governance and CI/CD pipelines. So these are also some of the items I've configured while we do this, because maintaining the applications on the newer migrated service is much mandatory for us. So as we are doing phase-based migrations of going for GCV first, and from GCV to replatforming to Cloud Run or GKE, and then managing database using the data layer, like using all these options over here. We also need to work in terms of security and governance and CI/CD pipeline as well. So these are some of the things which we should do. So this includes GKE for containerized workloads, Cloud Run for serverless services, managed database, CI/CD pipelines, monitoring and security integration. So this approach of a migration from on-prem to GCP is real enterprise environment, and this is the stages we have to move forward. Again, this is a very high level information on how I have completed this kind of migration strategies. It will help you prepare for the architect role or any kind of a lead role which you're planning to apply, and it makes your life easy as well, because this high level architecture will help you to prove to the customer that the hierarchy of working towards the migration is to follow this. Thank you again for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.